Next, we have some MCQs related with the humerus. So first is a line separating the head of the humerus from rest of the upper end is called. So in this question, you are supposed to pay attention to the word line. A line separating what? Second part of the question to which you are supposed to pay attention is the head of the humerus from rest of the upper end. So head of humerus and a line. So let's see the options one by one. Anatomical neck, surgical neck, greater tubercle, lesser tubercle, and bicipital groove. The last three options, they are totally false. Why? Because again, read the question, the line. None of these is a line, right? They are the bony landmarks in the form of elevation called tubercle and a small depression called groove. So we are, let's solve this MCQ with the strategy of exclusion, excluding some options. So we have excluded these last three options, greater tubercle, lesser tubercle, bicipital groove, on the basis of the question or the landmark that is asked in the question, which is a line. So none of these is a line. We are left with option A and B, which are anatomical neck and surgical neck. So now we will have to recall the bony features of the humerus. We know that humerus has two necks, an anatomical neck and a surgical neck. Surgical neck is the one that separates the entire upper end, which includes the head and two tuberosities and a groove from the shaft of the humerus. So we are left with one option, which is the anatomical neck. And it is the line that separates the head of the humerus from rest of the upper end. So anatomical neck is not actually separating the head of humerus from the shaft like surgical neck was doing so. Anatomical neck is simply a constriction given in the upper end of the humerus. So the correct option is anatomical neck. The lower end of the humerus articulates with head of the radius. Now we must remember that humerus, the lower end of the humerus articulates with the bones of the forearm, that is radius and ulna, to form a joint called the elbow joint. Now in this question, what you are asked is the part of the lower end of the humerus, the bony landmark in the lower end of the humerus that particularly articulates with the radius, head of the radius. So recalling the bony features of the lower end of the humerus, we know that humerus, the lower end of the humerus is in the form of a single condyle, which is flattened from side to side. There is a lateral epicondyle and a much more prominent medial epicondyle. Next to the lateral epicondyle, we have a rounded part of the humerus called capitulum. Next to it is the pulley-shaped trochlea. And then further medial is the medial epicondyle. So again, let's start with the exclusion strategy. What options can we exclude among these options? Capitulum, trochlea, yes, both of them, they form part of the lower end. Radial fossa. Radial fossa is part of the lower end of the humerus. Radial notch, no. It is not a part of the lower end, but rather it is a part of the ulna. Trochlear fossa, again, not part of the humerus lower end, it is part of the upper end of the ulna. So last two options are naturally excluded. We are left with the three options. So the lower end of the humerus inferiorly has capitulum, which is the lateral rounded prominence, located just next to the lateral apicondyle. And we know from our knowledge of the elbow joint that capitulum of the humerus articulates with the concave radial head. Trochlea, which is a pulley-shaped part of the lower end of the humerus, articulates with the trochlea fossa of the ulna. We are left with the radial fossa. Radial fossa is located just above the capitulum, so that its purpose is to accommodate, merely to accommodate the head of the radius with the arm and forearm. Particularly forearm is flexed at the elbow joint. So which one of these is the correct option? Capitulum is the correct option because it is basically articulating with the head of the radius, while radial fossa is merely containing the head of the radius during the movements of the elbow joint. So correct option is capitulum. Next question is related with the attachments of the humerus, upper end of the humerus, particularly lesser tubercle. So which muscle inserts on the lesser tubercle of the humerus? We know that there are two tubercles on the upper end, greater and the lesser. Single muscle gets attached on the lesser tubercle, whereas three muscles get attached on the three impressions present on the greater tubercle of the humerus. So let's see one by one. Subscapularis, supraspinatus, infraspinatus, teres minor, teres major. Let's go with the exclusion strategy. Teres major. Teres major does not get attached over any of the tuberosities of the humerus. Rather, it gets attached on the bicipital groove. Supraspinatus, infraspinatus, and teres minor, as well as subscapularis. They form the part of the sits muscle, which also are known as rotator cuff muscles. And they get attached on the lesser and the greater tuberosities. So we know that only one muscle is going to get attached on the lesser tubercle. Supraspinatus, infraspinatus, teres minor, and subscapularis. So the correct option is subscapularis. Rest of the three muscles, supraspinatus, infra, and teres minor, they get attached over the three impressions present on or located on the greater tubercle of the humerus. Now this question is similar to question 1 of the humerus. Junction of the head and neck with the shaft is indicated by. So again, you are supposed to point out the bony landmark or a level at which this junction can be observed. And this junction is between what? Head and neck with the shaft. So it is between the upper end and the shaft. Anatomical neck. We established previously that anatomical neck is the part of the upper end of humerus that separates the head from the rest of the upper end. Surgical neck. Yes. Surgical neck is basically the right option or true option because at this level, upper end is demarcated or is joined at the shaft. And that joining is demarcated by the surgical neck. Greater and lesser tubercles, no, they again form the part of upper end. Bicipital groove, no, it is simply merely a groove extending from the upper end a little bit over the upper part of the shaft. Radial groove, no, it is actually part of the shaft of the humerus. It has nothing to do with the upper end of the humerus. So the correct option is given in KLM page 676.